Watching movies is expensive. With theater prices going up, streaming services offering less for more, and physical media basically going extinct, where do you go when you want to watch some good quality entertainment? I'm desperate, alright? The dollar store is a staple of human consumerism. It's a place where you can go to buy just about anything you need for $1 or less, whether it be food, appliances, cleaning supplies, crafts, toys, vibrators, and yes, even movies. I mean, come on, for as little as $1, you can pick up such classics like Patient Zero with Milo from Morbius. This is a real DVD that I picked up from a real dollar store. Also, notice how it still has the plastic wrap on it. I don't know why, but me and my fiance really like going to the dollar store. Half the time, we don't even end up buying anything. We just like looking around. And the same day that we found this beauty, we also found this. Kids 8 Movie Marathon Volume 1. Okay. There are more of these? A collection of animated classics such as Aqua Tales, Rock Stars, The Race Begins, and so many more. Now, why the hell did I buy this? I wish I had a good answer. The biggest reason I can think of is that I thought it would be funny to maybe get drunk and watch all of these with Anne and laugh at how terrible they are. I figured it's cheap, it's 8 movies for $1, why the hell not? And then I stuck it on my shelf and never touched it again. Good job, me. Then when I was finalizing the slate for this year and straightening out my apartment, I stumbled across this DVD again and thought, I could make a video out of this. And I regret it. I watched every single movie on this DVD and I'm going to review them as fairly as possible. Maybe some of them are good, maybe they all suck. I don't know, who cares? Let's go. Legend of the Sea was released in 2007 in Singapore and 2012 in the US. The only known cast member of the American dub is Rob Schneider, and he gives about as great a performance as you'd expect from him.
I really need a break! Oh, I'm totally lost. Not the
Your father, the Dragon King, has been—
You don't want to do that!
Figures that all the movies on this DVD were distributed by Phase 4 Films, considering this is a far worse looking animated dragon movie than Shang-Chi was. The story is about an annoying Prince Dragon living in the Eastern Sea who is told he is going to be king eventually and that he has to take responsibility. But after him and his dumb friends stumble into a cave, this evil octopus villain who looks like a cross between Ursula, the owl from Rockadoodle, and the great mighty Pooh from Conker's Bad Fur Day, captures him and plans to kill his dad and take over the throne. And the longer this synopsis goes on, the more it seems like someone in Singapore really liked Lion King and wanted to get out a shitty remake of it before Disney did. The animation is truly breathtaking, some of the best to ever reach our shores. The characters all look ugly, their movements are so awkward, the backgrounds are very sterile with the same blue gradient acting as the water. The editing is also very weird as well. There are a lot of fades to black when crossfades probably would have looked better, but a lot of the time when they fade to black, the next scene fades into where we already were in the last scene, so there was no reason for a fade out. Obviously, since this is an American dub of a foreign film, I'm not going to critique the dialogue for not matching the lip movements, but I will criticize the acting. Not just because it's bad and obnoxious, but it sounded like the director and the translator were not giving any of them room to breathe. They cram so many lines on top of each other that it makes the flower shop scene from The Room sound comprehensive. Speaking of which, briefly going back to the editing, the sound mixing is horrendous. The music overshadows the dialogue and the sound effects overshadow the music. So there are several scenes where it is a genuine challenge to understand what anyone is saying. The story itself was honestly pretty boring, but there were a lot of weird aspects to it. Like this Chinese starfish who looks like Bruce Lee and speaks like the failure meme guy.
Failure! Failure! You're still a failure! Failure! I can smell the failure!
It gets pretty dark at the end, where the dad dragon flat out gets stabbed by the octopus lady, who then proceeds to crack jokes about it immediately after, which then leads into the son singing this emotional Chinese power ballad before gaining the power of the magic pearl or some shit and defeating the octopus lady. There were some hilarious things like that, but most of them come towards the end. The rest of the movie is pretty dull. I'd give it a 1.5 out of 5. Rock Stars, also known as Sunshine Berry and the Disco Worms, is a Danish movie from 2008, and why do the worms have boobs? The animation in this movie is mostly solid, but the character designs in this look so off-putting. They look like aliens from the show 321 Penguins. All their noses look like dongs. And again, why did they give the female worms boobs? This movie is full of weird shit like this. Everyone is overly horny towards the main girl worm. The rock guitarist seems to have an aversion to disco and has nightmares about the village people. I'm sure that isn't meant to symbolize anything. And much like Legend of the Sea, the climax gets pretty dark with the worms having to escape being ran through with a fishing hook and used as bait by this faceless human. It's very strange, but that's kind of what held my attention. I liked how weird and goofy and insane this movie was. The animation, for the probably low budget they were working with, was decent. Even the worms, despite their gross character design, do pretty well, and they have a lot of fun with what their bodies can do.
Finally, someone who knows me so well and knows how much it means to me to sing.
Absolutely.
Okay, maybe a little too much fun. One thing that was kind of confusing was the fact that this movie was called Rock Stars when it was brought over to the US and Canada, but it's a movie about a worm that wants to start a disco band. I don't know why they didn't just keep the original title, but it did throw me off that the movie with rock in the title was primarily about disco. Another thing that was kind of confusing was the voice cast. The DVDs of this movie advertised that Jane Lynch is in it, but for the first half of the movie, the character she supposedly voices sounds completely different to how she sounds in the second half. So either she was just doing a different voice for the first act and no one noticed, they got a different actress and then changed halfway through but didn't re-record the full dub, or maybe she's just doing the singing. I honestly don't know if any of that is real or if my ears are just playing tricks on me, but yeah, the long and short of the movie is it's weird and bad, but it's a more enjoyable weird and bad than the last movie. If you can find it for free on YouTube and you want to laugh at it, then I'd recommend it. I gave it a 2 out of 5. I'm gonna be totally honest, I was nodding off a lot during The Race Begins, also known as Zodiac The Race Begins, so I have no clue what the fuck just happened. This is another import from Singapore, their very first 3D animated film, funnily enough, released in 2006, and the setup is actually kind of interesting. 12 different animals take part in a race to see where they will place on the Zodiac and who will represent the different years. And the animal that gets there first is deemed the guardian of the Zodiac or something, and is basically considered the most important one. It's a very loose and obviously incorrect depiction of Chinese folklore, but it makes for an interesting premise. The problem is that they decided to bog down the story and throw everything but the kitchen sink into this plot that the race itself loses any sense of importance. There's this evil tree spirit stirring up trouble in the background who they barely focus on. The center of the movie follows this rat named Ringo.
You don't work hard enough.
But I really am very tired.
Wake up, lazy bones. Why don't you work hard like me?
Who really wants to be something, but is also being pursued by this cat and owl for some reason. All throughout the race, there are different subsets of characters that come in and out of the picture. There's betrayals, obstacles. It was just very unnecessarily crowded, kind of muddled, and felt longer than it actually was. I was very bored watching this movie, which is a shame since it started off pretty promisingly. The animation is a bit of a mixed bag. There are some decent backdrops, some nice lighting and shadows. The design of the tree spirit looks pretty freaking cool, but it all falls apart when the animals and humans look like this. They also go back and forth between the regular 3D animation and this pop-up book style, which, while very jarring and funny, was still kind of cute, but I kind of wish they stuck with one or the other and kept it a bit more consistent. The voice acting was hilariously inconsistent. There are more awkward edits in this, just like Legend of the Sea. The sound mixing is off again, and like I've been saying, it sucks that it ended up being so muddled and boring because I was kind of into it at the start. I'd give it a 2 out of 5. Nothing horrendous, but not good either. Aqua Tales, or The Wish Fish, is so far the worst movie in this collection, and I don't want to waste too much time on it. Long story short, it was one of the most obnoxious movies I've ever had to watch. The story is basically a bratty little kid refuses to eat his fish for dinner, so he wishes his mom, along with all the fish in the world, disappeared. And then, later that day, his mom gets abducted by aliens who invade the Earth. So it's like Mars Needs Moms, only much worse. So now the kid has to team up with these two fish-obsessed explorers to stop the aliens and reverse his wish. Parts of this movie where I wasn't just bored, were actively giving me a headache. The voice acting, particularly for the two kids, is so grating. They deliver pretty much all their lines in this loud, annoying tone. The animation is so ugly that it feels like if Hoodwinked and Planet Sheen hate-fucked relentlessly, and this was their lobotomized offspring. The story is all over the place and filled with unnecessary sidesteps that makes it feel longer than it actually is. All the characters are annoying and creepy.
A boy, but a chunky one at that.
Oh God, why? And least importantly of all, for a movie called Aqua Tales, where the cover art has the characters wearing air helmets, it has nothing to do with water or going underwater. They don't even go to space like the actual Mars Needs Moms. The movie mostly just takes place in this boring, destroyed section of Earth. It's honestly kind of surprising how painful and infuriating it was to watch this. I don't see them getting much worse than this. I'd give it a 1 out of 5.
Squeeze your zits. Huh? There's a big one on the end of your nose.
Huh? What? A zit? Where? Oh, where? Oh. Oh, Blackie.
No, you can't call them that. Pup, aka Blackie and Canuto, aka Black to the Moon 3D. What the hell are these alternate titles? Was released in 2013 and is quite possibly the weirdest movie in this lineup. Plot is all over the place. There are so many weird threads, but the gist of it is there's a black sheep named Blackie, and even saying that name out loud makes me feel like I'm gonna get canceled, who is really rambunctious and wants to go to the moon, and there's a sheepdog named Canuto who is struggling to keep everyone in line. There are space dogs trying to stop a pink alien sheep, a drill sergeant dog who looks like the cop from The Village People, and it's weird that there's been 2 movies in this lineup that have referenced The Village People. Some celebrity stylist villain dog who looks like a cross between Toffee from Star Vs. and Bobby Fabulous from Phineas and Ferb. The dog and the sheep are in love, but they don't want to admit it to each other. Honestly, the movie is so weird and all over the place that you'd probably get more out of me just showing you random clips than actually describing what happens.
Let's all take a deep breath on 3. 1, 2, 3.
We are fleeing! Oh, this is horrible! Oh, no.
This globalization is an infringement of our liberties. Solidarity is life, man.
The animation is so stiff and awkward. They do a lot of close-ups on their eyes, and it's always so jarring. There's a lot of weird racial stereotyping in the movie, like the Russian space dog who is literally just speaking in made-up Russian.
Navinsky strofis, navinsky dryfish, dryko naifos navinsky. Skolorio Majinski, Rimsko, Forskolorio Majinski, Rimsko, Novacek, Skolorio Majinski.
He said she loves pink.
The character designs are so weird. Why do all the sheep look like Tyler Perry? And why is the farmer's wife built like those thumb things from Spy Kids? I'll give it that it was at least funny in how weird it was, so I'd probably give it a 2 out of 5.
That's got to be the best parrot I've ever seen. So it would seem. Okay. So, question for those of you watching. When you hear the title Kiara the Brave and see this poster, what do you expect this movie to be? Probably something similar to the Disney Pixar movie Brave, right? I mean, they both look to be about a red-haired princess. They even both came out around the same time, so it would make sense, right? Well, would you have expected that a movie with this title and this poster would start out like this?
Take that! And that!
Cut it out, Mars!
What the fuck is happening? So, essentially, when this movie was imported from India, they decided to completely lie about what the movie actually is. It takes place in a sci-fi space kingdom instead of a regular fantasy kingdom. The princess on all the posters isn't even the main character, and it's about a kid with superpowers who has to stop an evil space wizard from taking over the dream zone or something. I honestly was only half paying attention. I really don't think the plot matters. This movie was such a weird slog. It
felt so long, and it felt like things were just happening, and I didn't care about any of it. The animation is, of course, terrible. I mean, these planet things are terrifying. It feels like they're using pre-keyed explosion and lightning effects in certain shots. But probably the worst part of the movie is the editing. It felt like there were a bunch of editors who each took a segment of the movie, but they weren't communicating with each other, so they didn't find a way to string each scene together naturally. There are scenes where the music starts to build up, and then instead of fading into the next scene, it just hard cuts, and it's really abrupt and awkward.
We'll have to be strong to weather this storm. Especially you.
Why have you captured us?
The voice acting is awful. These two three-eyed lizard fucks are so annoying. The dialogue as well seems overly written and drawn out in certain scenes.
Please help! Dream Zone is in trouble! King Maximus is gone! Help us find him! Guide us! Tell us what to do!
Oh my god, please shut up. The movie was boring, it made no sense, the ending was abrupt. This is tied very closely with Aqua Tales as the worst movie in this lineup. 1 out of 5. Jesus Christ. Oh god, I was waiting for this one. Life's a Jungle, Africa's Most Wanted was released in 2012 and is the only movie in this lineup I had any prior knowledge of before watching it. The YouTuber I Hate Everything did a video in 2017 called the Not DreamWorks Collection, where he looks over 9 movies just as cheap and shitty as the ones I've covered that are all meant to be rip-offs of popular DreamWorks movies. And Life's a Jungle is featured in that video as a clear rip-off of Madagascar, and in fact the movie came out 1 month before Madagascar 3. Now, from the small amount of the movie that was shown in that video, I could already tell that it looked hilariously bad, but it was somehow even worse than I thought it was gonna be. The story is about a talking dog named Pip. He's a spoiled bitch who goes on a safari with his rich-ass family and gets stranded in the jungle. He meets up with a bunch of wild animals that treat him like shit because he's an outsider, but through trials and tribulations, he gains their respect and blah blah blah. It really doesn't matter. The movie is very much dollar store Madagascar. It's ironic that this movie was produced by Prevalent Entertainment because the only entertainment that was prevalent in this movie came from laughing at how horrendous the animation is. This is easily the cheapest looking out of all of these. Early 2000s era PC games look more fluid than this. The characters all look so gross, and they all move as gracefully as a Roomba. These running animations are pretty incredible though. The sound is also terrible as well. The music isn't bad, but it's just kind of generic and repetitive. But the sound effects and the dialogue are laughable. There are moments where the characters' lips are moving, and I guess they just forgot to put words in them. There are sound effects missing where they should be, and when they do have sound effects, they are all super loud. Or they just reuse the same Foley for the background, or this cat's baby noises over and over again. There are some laughs to be had in just how terrible it is, but by the second half, I was just really bored. There is no fucking reason for this movie to be an hour and 40 minutes. Scenes drag out longer than they should. There is no smooth transition between scenes. It just goes on and on and on, and it's awful. At least Aqua Tales and Kiara the Brave had some bit of polish. This has absolutely nothing. You might get some ironic enjoyment out of this, but for me, this is an easy 0.5 out of 5. Oh, thank Christ we're on the home stretch. And luckily we end on probably the best movie in this collection, which isn't exactly saying much given what we've went through. My Friend Bernard, aka Mug Travel, was released in 2007 and is a South Korean animated film that is also based on a TV show. South Korean viewers, was the show any good? Let me know in the comments. But anyway, the movie centers around a horrifying looking child who is afraid of everything, kind of like Orion in the Dark, who gets given a magical necklace that summons a flying mug and transports him into another world. Honestly, after everything we've seen, that setup sounds almost mundane. You meet several colorful characters, one of which being the titular polar bear Bernard, and they all go on an adventure to help him get back home and get over his fears. I don't really have much to say about this one. It's honestly fairly inoffensive. The worst aspect about it is the animation. The look of the movie itself is fine, it's just kind of flat and simple, but for some reason, and I don't know if something went wrong in the export or if it just genuinely looks like this, but the animation looks really choppy. It's like it's being played at normal speed and half speed all at the same time. And it's weird because a good 25% of the movie looks completely normal and everything moves smoothly, so I don't know why the rest of the movie looks like this. Aside from that, I kind of would have liked it if the movie was completely silent. There is a narrator that pops in to describe what's happening, and it gets kind of annoying.
Sam's kind of shy. That's why he's hiding.
We know!
Sam is trying to get the necklace to work again, so he can get back home.
We know!
But Bernard is mad at Lloyd.
We know!
I know! You know, I know. I got it. I got the concept.
But other than that, the movie was just kind of meh. I'm never gonna watch it again, but it's completely harmless and okay enough that kids would probably enjoy it. I mean, not for nothing, but there are worse kids movies about a polar bear you could watch. And like I said, it's probably the best movie in this entire marathon. But then again, that's like saying being slapped is the least painful thing you've experienced after you've just had a railroad spike shoved in your urethra. I'd give this a 2.5 out of 5. Well, that sure was a video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comments and give the video a like, because if it does well enough, maybe I'll make another one. I do know there are at least 2 more volumes of this 8-movie marathon series, so maybe that's something I'll have to look into. And in case you wanted to see how I ranked each movie, here is my Letterboxd best to worst list, and keep in mind that best is in quotes here. If I had to recommend any of these movies, I'd say either go with My Friend Bernard, because it's just a breezy hour and 16 minutes that's perfectly fine, or the Disco Worms one, because it was kind of funny and you get some decent disco covers in it. Yeah, anyway, thank you guys for watching. I've got more videos coming real soon, but until then, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you can stay up to date and when I'm posting. Follow me on all my social media, subscribe to my main channel. Everything you need to know will be in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.